Welcome in, everybody. At this recording, Alex Jackson but hit a home run tonight. And he had a hit, and it was a home run, and it was a 2-run shot, and that's pretty much it. Now let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Rays Rewind with Buschman and Drew.
Jansen. That is into center field. Here comes Kiermaier. Phillips has tied the game. Arose Arena coming around. Throw home. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it. Brett Phillips, Game 4 hero.
The sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Rays Rewind podcast, the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. I am one of your hosts, the great Buschman, and alongside me, as usual, is my partner in crime, Drew. Welcome in, everybody. Of course, go to our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind. Hit that subscribe and notification bell when new episodes drop on a weekly basis. Oh, it's another disappointment of the weekend. It's another disappointment. Well, at the recording of this show, the Rays are about to get swept by the Baltimore Orioles, which isn't really a shocker at all because the Orioles this year are a fantastic, monolithic behemoth of a team. But we have a laundry list of things to discuss. I will say this, Drew. I'm kind of to the point where I'm just kind of gearing up for football right now.
Yeah.
Just the way the state of the team is. But I digress. We'll get into that in a little bit. We'll go over Harold Ramirez getting DFA'd the last week. We'll go into the Orioles series, of course, and then going into the more shenanigans and miscues and miscalls and missed everything. And of course, we're trying to hold in our anger in this show. Mm-hmm. But I think our anger is more just kind of frustration at this point because
we're professionals.
Wait, you got a new hoodie on? Is that a new?
Oh yeah,
Did you get from Homage? Is it Homage or Homage?
Homage. No,
Homage.
I don't actually know. I think of Homage.
So do I. I got both of mine too. I got a Rays hoodie. I think it was the white one with the Rays. And I also got. I'm washing mine right now, and I got the Major League T-shirt, the one from the movie. You know, with the logo for the movie.
Oh yeah.
I wore that over the weekend. I got so many compliments on it. I was like, yeah,
there you go.
Okay.
I just opted for I got a couple Rays things. I got this sweatshirt. I'm a sucker for the Devil Rays,
Yeah. I've got a bunch of those.
And then I got a Rays t-shirt. It's like a Topps branded t-shirt. I just kind of went for a different color than what I had with
t-shirts. Is it kind of like a vintage kind of look Topps
t-shirt?
It's
like a vintage catcher behind the plate. It's not like an actual player. It's just like
they have that at the Trop. They sell that at the team store. Yeah,
cool.
I saw that at Rays Republic. They do sell that one, so I've seen.
Cool. That this is actually a really good fitting sweatshirt. Sometimes you get sweatshirts and they just kind of hang on you. This one's actually the sleeves are nice and cuffed at the end. It fits well. So.
I noticed that too. I was wearing my white one that had the Rays logo with the sunburst in it, and perfect fit. And because usually when I get sweatshirts or anything or pullovers or whatever from Fanatics, they're usually too small or too big. But the one from Homage, they're perfect fit. So I will definitely keep getting those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean? So, I've kept my eye on that website quite a bit. So I'll finally get a few things.
So hopefully our producer Jimmy can maybe when they do the editing on the show, they can put the link to the website to Homage or whatever.
Yeah,
so they
for sure.
Stuff. So, all right, let's get into it. Do you want to go into the series first, or do you want to talk about Harold Ramirez getting DFA, which to me was a shock last week? I think it was kind of to you. Are you kind of in the same boat as I was? Because when I saw that alert, I was like, interesting move.
I think last week when we saw Taylor Walls coming back, I'd have to roll the tape back. I know last week we mentioned, I think Johnny DeLuca.
We did.
I think it was more. I think maybe we were discussing more so it was Johnny DeLuca or Richie Palacios, and I think both of us were on DeLuca getting sent down. If anyone got sent down, considering his play of late,
Mm-hmm.
Was I surprised I DFA'd Harold? Yes, I guess, because I can't believe they actually did it.
Yeah.
So yes, I am surprised. Now, do I think it was a bad move to make? No, I don't. Um, I mean, you look at that he's not. I mean,
He's hardly been in the lineup.
yeah. I mean,
He's
part of that's because of pitching matchups,
right.
but
He hasn't been hitting. I mean, he's been hitting singles, which is good when you got guys on base. I mean, he hasn't been bad. He hasn't been Alex Jackson bad.
no,
I mean, he hasn't been Randy Arozarena bad. He hasn't been Johnny DeLuca bad. But I think we've talked about him since after last season when he was kind of been dangled a lot as a trade piece, and we all thought coming into the season he'd be traded, but then nothing happened, and he's been on the roster. And then he got I was kind of surprised because I would have thought, hey, maybe field some calls to see if anybody needed an outfielder, but apparently the markets is kind of low for him. So
Yeah.
I mean, they had no other options for him was DFA or trade, and it just turned out it's had to be DFA.
Yep.
So
you know what, I think it just all depends as far as if it was the right move or not. I think it all depends on what you want to look, what argument you want to make, or where you're looking. So if you're looking at the numbers and just the baseball side of things, the numbers of it, he's not nearly as good as he was last year. He's not hitting for power, as you mentioned. Really, the only thing that he's been able to contribute, I think, on the baseball field itself is hustle. Right, you can't say he doesn't hustle. He's one of the guys, and frankly, that's something the team has needed. Right, that you got times there's been mental mistakes or lack of hustle. Never the case with Harold. He's always hustling.
He lost all that weight to do so, and
and his average was in the, I think, 287, something like that. So
yeah,
and compared to the rest of the team and the rest of the guys that have been struggling, obviously he's not struggling as much. However, he doesn't offer and again, people might not want to hear it, but the Rays calling cards, we've said, is pitching and defense, and they've always had flexible defense, flexible guys that can be flexible defensively. He's never been that. And when the team's doing well and they've got a bunch of guys hitting and they've got a bunch of guys in the field that and he's a bench depth piece on a successful team, you can afford his lack of defensive flexibility, defensive versatility. On this team, honestly, you just can't. You can't. I just don't think that when it comes down to it, if it's coming down to getting rid of an existing player that can't get sent down, he was the first option to go. He's the first obvious option to go. And I mean, the fact that the Rays did it, I think, I saw in the Tampa Bay Times, they mentioned maybe it was kind of a warning shot to some of the other veterans on the team. But I
disagree with that. I disagree with that. It's a warning shot to the other veterans of the team because of the way this year's been shaping up. It's definitely, I wouldn't even say you're putting the other players on notice that are veterans on the team too, because it is a business, and he was kind of that odd man out when it came to having a starting position, and especially when it comes to the matchups too. So I think T-Kraz put that out he kind of said that today on his show where it was a warning shot. I don't think it's a warning shot. It's part of the business, and he was kind of like the odd man out. So I just don't I mean, you could say if everybody could be available, if anybody's, not untouchable by the trade deadline, you can maybe say that and say, hey, if he's going to be gone, then maybe everybody else is available to trade depending on how where they're going to be at by the trade deadline, which is in August. But the way they're trending right now, it's everybody on. Look, I was on Twitter all day, and everybody's just like sell, man. It's and we talked about this last week, Drew. It's time to look forward to 2025 maybe, and just kind of look towards the future and see about that. Even though this team is hanging around 500, I mean, they're still kind of in the hunt for the wild card spot. But I just think, with the lack of look, I went on Sunday's game, and just another vanilla game where you're getting almost a perfect game pitched on you until, I think it was the 6th or the 7th. and everybody around us was just like, God, this is just going to be another one of those games where they're going to get like 1 or 2 hits, maybe 1 or 2 runs, and that's it. And obviously they kept the game close until Rushman hit the grand slam, and you can blame my good friend Keegan Siegfried, who is the owner of Paramount Home Group, who actually called the grand slam while we were in the outfield. He called it.
Gosh.
Yeah, he's like, hey, it'd be nice if we had a grand slam. And next pitch, grand slam. And I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore. But I think just kind of like the lack of play that we saw to the defensive miscues on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Johnny DeLuca trying to make a diving grab in center field, which was stupid as hell. It's just yeah.
I mean, Harold Ramirez is not what was wrong with this team, So I don't think you can say like, okay, that's the scapegoat, No,
I don't think there is a scapegoat. I think if you're trying to say there's a scapegoat, everybody's a scapegoat.
Exactly. But the reality is Taylor Walls is your starting shortstop. Had he not been hurt in the offseason, I don't know if the team goes out and get Jose Caballero. Yeah. Right. So he, even though Jose Caballero has been fine, I think a lot was made of his start to the year and his stolen bases and stuff. And I think at the end of the day, he's just kind of a average to above average player who I think fills an okay role. He's a spark plug, whatever you want to call him. But Taylor Walls is the shortstop. He is a switch hitting defensive first shortstop that frankly has underwhelmed with his bat, but has proven to be much more effective in lower levels. So you're hoping it can come around at some point now that he's healthy. Like there was no doubt that he was going to come up. They're not going to leave him in Durham. He was going to come up, be the starting shortstop, and somebody had to go. Now, you could have demoted DeLuca, who's not playing well, and I think that would have been fine. I don't think a whole lot of people would have said, no, that's the wrong move. I just think that, again, Harold Ramirez, there's no defensive flexibility. He's not what's wrong with the team. However, he has not played well enough in his role to warrant staying up here, especially when the team is as in desperate of a mode as they need to be right now. And with Walls coming up, that immediately boosts the defense. DeLuca staying on the team, I get it. He's not hitting well. Still, you have that fourth, fifth outfielder, whatever you want to call him, who can, supposedly hit lefties well and can play all 3 positions. Like that's a valuable commodity on a team that needs to squeeze everything out of the players on its roster right now.
What's funny is, speaking of DeLuca, how we were talking about him a couple months, not even a month, a couple months. It's like almost a month ago where we're like, hey, DeLuca's trending up and Siri is trending down, and now it's almost flip flop. Like Siri is trending up the way because he's shortened up his swing, and then DeLuca's just batting 150 now. Or batting 170. So looking at this team as a whole, I wanted to get your opinion on this too. And I want to see a shakeup, but I don't think a shakeup's going to happen.
No,
because the value of defense is way too high in this team this year, and we want to look. I would love to see Alex Jackson maybe go back down and Renee Pinto come back up, but I mean, I think they gave up on Pinto way too early just to send him down because we all thought he was going to be the catcher. But now it's just like we have a catcher who is besides today, obviously, because he had a 2-run shot, he hasn't been efficient behind the plate at all. I'm tired of trying to make excuses for the Rays going forward, but at this point in time, it's just like, yeah, I'm just
yeah. I mean,
and they just officially got swept. By the way, they got swept. Hey, everybody, they got swept.
4 game. I'll get into the Orioles stuff in a minute. Okay. So related to what you said, the reason why I am okay with Harold being DFA'd is that I am of the mind that I don't think this team's doing anything this year. They haven't done anything so far, but playoff wise, they're not a playoff team. They're not going to make the playoffs. I certainly hope that at the end of the season, I am wrong. And they, I look stupid for saying this. They make a big
I was
run.
telling producer Jimmy before you came on, I'm like, Jimmy, I'm to the point where I'm almost now going to be fully invested in football right now because I don't think the Rays are going to make the playoffs because it's just, I mean,
and so that's what, I want to start seeing because that's where I believe the team is. I know the team won't operate like that right
Yeah.
now. I know that realistically. However, that's where I feel the team is. Like, look, okay, you know what? This season, for whatever reason, the team just did not play well. The pieces they brought in, did okay in some areas. Other areas, they were terrible. Bullpen pieces weren't great. Like, it's just been a tough year. Wander being gone, not being on the team anymore, injuries to key pitchers, key hitters at times, like just wasn't our year. Let's start looking ahead to 2025. And so in my mind, any move that's like, all right, we're gonna, we'll try to stay competitive for this year, but we're gonna be gearing up for next year and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I'm okay with that. Like, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most is, okay, how can this team start getting some guys up here from Durham, when Junior's back healthy with the team, at the end of, this month or beginning of next month, whenever that will be, post All-Star break, I don't know, getting him up here, getting him regular at bats, Curtis Mead, Jonathan Rana, these guys that supposedly have been some of our best prospects and have performed so well in the minors. Like, all right, let's just see what they got. Like, give them an extended look for the second half of the season. And, and Harold Ramirez, I'm sorry, is not a part of next year's team. Like, they weren't going to keep,
I can agree with that.
They didn't want to keep him at this salary. They tried to trade him. They couldn't find anybody, so they kept him. And he didn't perform nearly as well as he needed to. And I get it. He's a spark plug. He's a hustle guy. He's really nice. Like, he's just great. Like, he dyed it hair blue. He's, they did the sensory room at the Trop Form. Like, all these are great. Like, these intangibles are so great. And I genuinely, like, I was a huge Brett Phillips fan. Like, even though he was one of the worst players on the team, I did not want him to leave. I mean, so
same way with me with Johnny Gomes. I didn't want Johnny Gomes to leave, but he was terrible on the team.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't really help. He helped out when there was fights.
Yeah.
When there was fights, Johnny Gomes was right in the thick of it.
And I just, I get it, the intangibles, and Harold brought that, but at the end of the day, like, it's just not something that I think was a good fit anymore. And it was, he was going to be the odd man out, the first guy to go, no matter.
Are you going to
came a little early? So
do you think there's going to be a little bit more of that in the next month or so?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they'll DFA anybody. I don't know. I think it would be a full on trade if they got rid of any more pieces. I mean, there's not anybody they can DFA. I mean, that's meaningful. That's meaningful.
Not DFA, but here come the trade. The trade,
Yeah, I mean, again, Rays fans out there, get your affairs in order.
Yes.
This team is going to look way different.
That's why I buy jerseys with no name on the back.
Yeah,
I put my own.
The one jersey I put a name on it. He's not on the team right now. But yeah, I mean, this team, I don't know if it's gonna be wholesale changes. I don't know if it's like, all right, Yandy, you're gone. Pete Fairbanks, you're gone. Zach Eflin, I don't know,
there's gonna be coaching changes too. I mean, I think Matola's gone.
I mean, somebody.
There's somebody on the coaching staff has to take the fall. And it's not going to be Kevin Cash,
and it's not going to be Kyle Snyder.
No, it's not. It's going to be Matola.
Yeah, I mean,
because of just the offensive production that has not been there.
And generally speaking, like, the Rays offense is not historically been that great. Like, I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head. I didn't do the research right now. I don't have it in front of me. But
when they had Jose Canseco and Fred McGriff.
Yeah. So I mean, last year obviously they were great, right? They first half of the year, first month especially, like, they were killing the ball, and they set like a franchise record for home runs and all these things. But 2022 was terrible. Now they had some injuries, but like, it was a terrible year for offense. 2021 was fine, especially once Wander came up and they started kind of peaking towards the second half of the season. But like, it's not like this team has just been an offensive juggernaut. But the thing is, for the longest time, they don't have to be. Like, they just have to be league average. Like, if they are middle of the road, this team is typically a playoff team because the pitching is so good and the defense is so good. And if they get average production from the offense, they're set. They're good. They are a playoff team more times than not. And it's the years where they get maybe a spike in offensive production where we see a team like 2023 or a team like 2021 that, getting close to 100 wins, things like, or at 100 wins. Like that's where the ceiling comes in. Is the higher the offense is, typically the better the team is, because we already know the baseline of pitching and defense is so strong. So for the team to be so bad, it's just so disappointing, because it doesn't have to be the Yankees, or it doesn't have to be some of these teams that are like constant, scoring all these runs all the time, in order to stay in games. Like they just have to be average, and they can't even do that. I saw on D Rays Bay, I just like going on there and reading the comments, just to get, some therapy of my own, seeing what some of the fans are saying. And Darby Robinson, who I think is a good source of info. I believe he does. I think he has his own Rays podcast, Raise Your Voice, which listen, I think there's some other good, there's good Rays content out there, guys.
not just us. Don't worry.
Not just us. There's a lot of good guys out there talking about Rays baseball. But so he had a post that I saw. He dug into the Rays offense this year, and we can kind of get in, trying to be creative with finding out how bad this team is offensively. But he said in Rays franchise history, this offense has the lowest OPS. So on base plus slugging is the lowest in team history right now with this offense. This offense is the franchise worst and lowest weighted on base average. Also the lowest in slugging. So it's the worst power hitting Rays team ever. I believe they have hit the fewest home runs in Major League Baseball, from what I recall. They have the fourth worst base running of any Rays team in team history, and the third worst strikeout to walk rate in team history. So through their first 64 games, or 65 games, whatever, that's
and
where
we're crazy, because our payroll's the highest it's ever been.
And this is a team-wise and historically bad Rays offense. And I believe on the broadcast on Friday, what was the day they got shut out? Saturday,
yeah.
Saturday, they said, it's only the fourth time the team's gotten shut out, but it's actually the 21st time this season they've scored one or fewer runs. So, and I'm sure if you extend that up to 2 runs, it's probably just doubles in number. I'd have to go back and count, but like 21 times this season, this team has scored 1 or fewer runs in a game. Like they can't.
And it's also the fact that they've almost been no hit a few times, almost perfect game a couple of times too. And it's what I saw on Sunday was just swinging at everything, just not timely hitting. I mean, the one hits they had were obviously they scored a couple runs, but before that, I was just striking at, just swinging at everything. Like, just chasing runs, which they were like 2 runs that they got. But other than that, it was just it's the vanilla offense that I've said about, where it's not, you're not having timely hitting, and you're not having those. There's no pop in the bats at all. Right. And look, if you're gonna play small ball, which the Rays are known to play a small ball, we don't have a lot of power hitters on the team. That's fine, but hit. But don't be swinging at everything and not having any runs, not having any run support either. Like when Zach Luttrell was on the mound, and when the game was kind of close, when it was only 2-0, he was still doing okay, but he had no run support.
Yep.
No run support whatsoever. You gotta be perfect. But when you're, giving up a couple solo home runs, that's okay. But you gotta have some offense to back you up, because that's going to put more confidence in the pitcher to go a little bit longer than that. But there was nothing. There was just nothing.
One thing that I want to look into, and I haven't taken the time to yet, but is I get anecdotally, this is just me watching all the games this year. How many times, do you feel like the Rays, when they score runs, they only score in 1 inning? Like, if you think back, they'll score, 2, 3 runs, whatever, however many runs they score in a game. It always feels like it's just like 1 inning where they get a rally going, they string a bunch of hits together, a couple walks, whatever,
right?
And then it's nothing. And even this series, the 2 games the last two games for sure. I'd have to look back. Let's see, Friday's game. They put together a run in 3 different innings. So they did score in 3 different innings, but like the last 2 games of this series, right? They strung together a couple of hits. I think, a couple walks, whatever. In the 6th yesterday, the game you were at, they get the 2 runs, leave the bases loaded. They don't sniff anything the rest of the game. And tonight, same thing. Like, honestly, they didn't even. The Orioles actually made a mistake. Their defense is so good. Their outfield defense especially is fantastic. They make plays all the time, and they got gifted an extra at bat this game because there was an error for Caballero on his at bat, and it allowed Alex Jackson to come up, and what do you know? He hits a home run. So really, you can make the argument that they shouldn't even scored at all tonight because the 2 runs they scored in the 1 inning they scored, they got off of an error. They were unearned. So
it's the runners in scoring position that's always been their Achilles heel when it comes to their offenses. They can't capitalize when guys are on base. And that's what frustrates me the most is especially especially your top hitters where they can't get it done, where they've got guys, 2 guys on base on second and third, and they can't get them in. It's just like, guys, what are we doing here? What are we doing when you guys can't get these guys across? And that's the thing that frustrates me the most when they've got guys in scoring position. They cannot capitalize on those big hits. And I think if they're gonna do some kind of blow up at the end of the season, if they're there at that point where it's just like. And I know I talked about this our last show where, hey, they could be hanging around. They could be, a couple of games below 500 and they could still make a move. They could be buyers at the trade deadline where they make a move and it kind of helps them put them over the top. I'm over it. I'm over the frustrations I've had so far because look, and I know people, it's June. There's still a lot more baseball to play. Yeah, I get that. But when there hasn't been any signs of improvement, it's just where are we going from here? If you can say to me, okay, from this point on, after this 4-game sweep against the Orioles, we're gonna see improvement all the way around from the pitching, from the hitting, for the defense, and we're gonna see a string of series wins over the next maybe month and a half. Then I'm gonna say, okay, maybe they've got a chance. But ever since the end of April, there hasn't been improvements. Maybe that 6-game win streak that was a little bit, but after that it was just business as usual, going back to the mediocre team that they are right now. Show me some improvement. Show me something where I can have a glimmer of hope that they could probably make it to the playoffs. But at this point, it's like there's no leaders in this clubhouse. There's no we've talked about it again. There's no funness really at all. Maybe that walk-off that they had a week and a half ago, but that was it. But other than that, there's no spark with this team. Show me some. I'm going to start banging on the desk. Show me some improvement. Show me something to where I can say my confidence is back in you. Because right now it's not, and it's just it's like it's a product I don't want to see.
So
I don't.
Bad.
It is
it's so bad. It's even hard. I mean, it's even hard to watch on television. It's a blessing.
I'm not live in person.
I know. I mean, because I would be going to games, and it would be hard.
After Rushman hit the grand slam, and that was in the 8th, I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm gonna go beat traffic, and I'm gonna go home because I don't want to see the end of this game.
Yeah. And another thing that I think about that I feel like it feels like it happens a lot with this Rays team, especially, is kind of in the similar vein to like, okay, they always feel like they scored in 1 inning, and that's it.
Yeah.
How many does it feel like this team? And I would love to go back. I literally would just have to go and look at the game logs. That's what I'd have to do. But like, how often this team scores in an inning? They either, they're, let's say like yesterday, they're down 3-0. They get they get the rally in the 6th, 3-2. They don't capitalize with the bases loaded, but hey, all right, they chase Grayson Rodriguez out. They're getting things moving, like 3-2, close game, and then they turn right around and give up runs. It's whether it's like they're clawing their way back in the game, and then they turn right around and give up those runs right back.
Well, it's just like tonight where Jackson hit the 2-run shot. They were up 2-1, and then right the next inning, boom, Pepio gives up another solo home run, and it's just like, okay, now we're tied again. So it's like we can't have nice things. We can't enjoy these things.
No, and I mean, I feel like it's happened so frequently where they get some runs or they get up a run, and it happened. It happened a bunch last week too against the Orioles. That Saturday game when Taj pitched, they called their way back to 4-3 or whatever to get back in front, and and then Taj goes around and turns around and gives it right back up. Like this happens so frequently, and I feel like that's a sign of a bad team, right? Like you get these leads, you get these momentum, swinging innings in your favor, and then you just turn right around and you can't get a quick shutdown inning to keep things moving on your side. So it's frustrating. And there's just nothing to suggest. Like this team has shown us nothing this year to suggest that they're a good enough team to be in the playoffs. The only reason they're still considered on the fringes of a playoff picture is because the other middle teams in the American League haven't, not one of them has pulled away.
No.
Right. Like, and all it's going to take is one team to pull away, and the Rays are done.
That's what makes this like so comical, is because you can't really count them out because they're not really out yet, because everybody in the middle in the wild card standings are either at 500 or they're sub 500 right now, only by a couple of games. Everybody's kind of separated by a game and a half. So it's like, hey, the Rays are kind of bad and they're not really going to make the playoffs, but they're still kind of in it because everybody else is kind of bad and kind of mediocre too. So until somebody makes a move maybe before the trade deadline or before it that really pushes over the top, you can still kind of consider them in the hunt because they're still kind of in the hunt, like at record wise, which is the most hilarious thing too as well.
And it's so like, I don't understand this team too, because it's like, for the longest time it's like, oh man, we need the off day, we need an off day, and they get the off days and they come back, they come after off days and it's like they're flat, it's like the off day did nothing for them. Or then I read in a column, I think by John Romano, the way he phrased it seemed like the fact that they had a couple off days within the span of like 10 games or a couple off days within the span of a week made things a little like strange for him, or like kind of threw him off. And it's like, wait, I don't understand. Like, does this team need off days, or do they need to keep playing games straight through? Like, I don't understand what this team needs to get going. So it's, there's nothing to suggest this team is any good this year. They've proven, even against the worst teams in the league, they've not done well.
I was just about to say that, because look, you don't take anything away from Baltimore. They're a good team.
Oh yeah.
They're a very good team. So
they're deeper than the Yankees.
Right. And to say like, hey, oh my God, the Rays are swept by the O's. It's like, don't be surprised, man. They're a good team and they're going to make a deep playoff run. So, but yeah, you said it right. Like, we're bad against the bad teams. Like, we're not that great. And we've got the Cubbies coming into town, and they're not a great team either, but we struggle against bad teams.
Okay. Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Trivia question for you. How many series have the Rays won at home this year against AL East teams? How many have they won?
I'm going to say 0.
You're correct. 0.
Yeah,
they have
0.
Won 0. They split. They've lost every single home series except for the opening series against Toronto, where they split 2-2.
Yeah.
They lost 2 or 3 to the Yankees. They got swept by Boston, and swept by Baltimore. So they've actually, if you go all the way back, they haven't won a AL East game, a division game at home, since May 11th. Almost a month ago. Because they were swept by Boston in 3 in May, and then they were just swept by Baltimore. So May 11th, Saturday, so a month tomorrow, was their last AL East home victory. Now, to their credit, they won a couple series on the road against the AL East, so it's not like they haven't gone out and played some AL East teams well, right? They won in Toronto and in Boston, so I'm not trying to bash them completely. Like, they turn around and and play well in those road series, but they just haven't proven anything at home. And like that's also just like a head scratcher. I get that the Trop, I love the Trop, and I think Rays fans are great fans. They get unfairly criticized by people that don't understand what's going on in that region, in Tampa Bay. And so I certainly am not bashing Rays fans by any means, but like, let's not pretend that the Trop is not a house of energy most games, right? Like there are now when it gets rocking, and it's a blast. But like, but the Rays have always performed well at home. That's always even if it's not like a hopping environment, it's not 30,000-40,000 fans every night. Like they always play well at home. It's always been an advantage to play at the Trop for them. And this year it seems like it's just
nothing.
House of Horrors, like it's flipped. So
Sunday's game was 20,000. A lot of O's fans. I didn't know there was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's.
But I will say this though, Drew. When it came time, when you heard like the "Let's Go Rays" chant, it was loud.
Oh yeah,
it was super duper loud. Maybe it was the fact that there was a lot of kids there and that helped out too with their high voices and whatnot.
I get, miss me with all the talk about opposing fans. I feel like no other team like the Rays gets, crapped on about opposing fans showing up. Like literally, it happens. Like especially the big teams, like fans show up everywhere. Like every Yankees game on the road, there are a ton of Yankees fans everywhere.
And most of them are Rays fans too. But when their home team comes to town, it's
but it's always at the Rays stadium. It's a home game for the Yankees. It's like,
did you see the walk up to the Yankee Stadium with all those Dodger fans?
Yeah, and I mean that's the that's crazy. That's the only team that that's the only team that I feel like can give the Yankees a taste of their own medicine a little bit with the fans.
Dodgers fans are nuts, man.
Yeah, they're crazy. But listen, the Orioles series, I do want to touch on a couple things specifically with this series real quick. Some bigger thoughts. I mean, the Orioles are better than the Rays.
Yes.
They curb stomped the Rays this weekend. There's no getting around it. I mean, and I felt like personally, the Orioles wanted to put the Rays away. Now they just wanted to say, your season is over on June 10th. They did not mess around. I think you saw that in their bullpen decisions, which is their tenacity at the plate. Like they didn't take any pitches off. I mean, every long at bat felt like it went their way with a big hit.
I want you to guess how much the Orioles outscored the Rays
in this series.
Total runs, yes.
Oh, well, you gotta give me a second. I'm gonna do some. Well, the Rays scored 7 runs total, right? Because they scored 3, 2, and 2 with the shutout. It was 6-3, 5, so 11, 20, 25-7.
All right, you're the winner on the Rays. Yeah, 25. Outscored 25
at your home park on a weekend series. Not one single uniform change helped the Rays this weekend. No. All 4 different uniforms, all 4 losses. Maybe we should wear the road uniforms at home just to get a. Well, oh no, wait, we do because we don't have the grays anymore. So
that's right. Which I think they should come back with the grays. To be honest with you. Those are like they were. I like.
Something. Can we get another City Connect jersey so we can have another City Connect?
Bring back Bring back the old green ones.
Yeah,
those are nazi.
But like just thinking about it. I know yesterday I was listening on the radio of those last few innings, so I got to hear Adley Rutschman's grand slam on the radio, and I think I could hear the groan from you, Evan, out in the outfield.
You probably heard me say, "All right, I'm going home."
Yep, I'm leaving. But Cano, Yunier Cano, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his first name right, was warming right in that 8th inning. I think top of the 8th, they got up him and Keegan Aiken. It was 5-2. And then obviously Adley hits the homer and it goes 9-2. So Cano sits down. They don't need to throw him. But like he pitched again tonight. So, and I realized like I've been critical of the Orioles and how they run their relievers into the ground. I think it was seeing Felix Bautista get hurt last year, like was one of the things I felt like was a long time coming with how often they used him and how much they used him. Even in 2022 when they started picking things up when he came onto the scene, and then 2023 like he threw a ton of innings, and I think you saw that it had some repercussions. So I'm not saying that how they handle their pitchers is the way to go. I'm not saying that at all. However, they were willing to pitch Cano 3 straight days and they end up pitching him tonight, right? They probably feel like they didn't have to. I mean, I know it's 5-2, but like clearly this race team hasn't shown anything. But no, they go Cano and Kimbrel 3 of the 4 nights. Like they're throwing their best relievers out there. They're not
when they didn't have to.
When they didn't
have to.
They didn't have to. It was, they could have probably gotten by with a couple of the middle leverage guys, but they stuck with their high leverage arms, up 3 runs, whatever late in game, because they're shutting the game down. They don't want the Rays to do anything, and contrast that with the Rays. So
if you bring up Phil Matt, I'm gonna
no, but like Friday night, they're down 3-2. They've scored. I think they had just scored. Let's see. I'm pulling up of course, I got off the one game I'm trying to reference right now. Give me one sec. So they scored, it was 2-2 in the third. And then, okay, so it's 4-3 in the bottom of the sixth. They score the run in the sixth. And so it's now a 1-run game. And they bring in Davinsky for the 7th. He gets through the 7th inning pretty clean. I don't remember if he gave up a hit or not, but no runs, whatever. Great. Good job, Chris. No runs in the 7th for Rays. So it's a 1-run game going to the 8th inning. And we have a rested bullpen, a fully rested bullpen of 2 off days between Monday and Thursday. They had two wins in Miami against the Marlins, and then they had another off day on Thursday. And so they're coming to this series fully rested. Biggest series of the year, because again, worst case scenario, you get swept. It's bad news for the Rays, right? And Kevin Cash says, you know what I'm going to do is, I don't, assuming he's thinking about the rest of the series, maybe not running his guys out there in a one, being down a run and saving them for later in the series. He runs Davinsky out there another inning.
Yeah.
And it's like,
which made no sense whatsoever.
You got him through the 7th clean. Great job. But like, Davinsky's been one of your worst relievers besides the one you named, Phil Maton, like Davinsky's proven nothing this year. He's been terrible.
Yeah.
And you throw him out there for a 2nd inning and he comes out and does he gets shelled. He gives up the 2-run homer. Who was it? Westberg. Like in the middle of the lineup, he says, you know what, Chris, you go out and throw a 2nd inning. When you have a fully rested bullpen, Jason Adam, Garrett Clevenger, your big guys, you're facing a lefty, a switch hitter in Santander, Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins. Like, to me, that I listen, I don't know what Santander's splits are, left versus right, because I know he's a switch hitter, but like that screams lefty pitcher for me. That screams lefty reliever. Like, let's get Garrett Clevenger out there. He's been one of your best relievers all season. He's fully rested. Like, where was he? Why are you sticking with one of your worst relievers in a 1-run game? This needs to be win now. Like,
that was my question when Phil was out there yesterday against Adley Rutschman. I'm like, no, why would you want to have this matchup? And then gives up the grand slam.
And I know Maton's supposedly been, historically been very tough against righties, and Rutschman kills lefties. And so I get like the righty matchup with him batting left, but they just don't have it. Like, you got to, if you're willing to put Brandon Lau out there in a crucial situation against the Orioles in Camden Yards because he can pull a home run, even though the numbers don't say so, and you're willing to go.
Brandon Lau had he had an RBI. He had an RBI yesterday.
Yeah. I'm just saying, these guys do not have it. Davinsky is not a guy you throw out there, saving Jason Adam and Pete Fairbanks for the next day when you're or hoping you maybe scratch across the run to tie a game. No. Get your guys out there and keep the game close because that just kills the momentum. Now it's 6-3 in the 8th, and it's all over.
I think with Cash and the miscues he's had, the missteps I think it's part frustration and almost part, I don't want to say desperation, but it's almost like I've got to work with what I've got, and these are the best I've got right now. And if it blows up in my face, it's going to blow up in my face. And if it works, it works. I just think he's looking at the presser last night. And I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure I'll check it out. But just his demeanor is his face just spells frustration. And he's not an emotional hey, I'm going to throw a Gatorade cooler out in the field or maybe yell at the players in the locker room. He's not that type of guy. but just the frustration it's getting to him, man. It's getting to Cash. We can all see it. And I just think he's at the point where, look, until something happens, this is the best I've got. These are the players that I'm tasked to manage. And until we say, hey, we're throwing in the white towel and we're gonna blow it up, this is what you're gonna see. And that's look, obviously this is my opinion about it, but I think that's where he's at. I can't do anything about the level of play because these are the players I have going forward.
Yeah, I was disappointed when Lovelady. I don't know if you saw Lovelady got hurt.
I saw he got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it's like a flexor strain. I just assume it's bad news. So, I don't know if we'll see him again this year or whenever what that looks like. But I was hoping when Poche was coming back that they would send down Davinsky or you talk about DFA candidates. Davinsky needs to go ASAP. I want to get Manny Rodriguez back up. I don't care. Someone else. Davinsky. They brought him back. Like they signed him as a free agent. I know it's like only $1.5 million or something like that, but like he's just so bad. Like I just don't. There's some decisions this year that it makes me feel like I'm going crazy because as much as I watch the games, I know that the Rays people pour over the data and what the games and everything more than even
they're smarter than we are, Drew.
They are smarter than we are,
but
like their moves just don't make any. There's certain moves that don't make any sense, and it drives me nuts because I feel like I'm going crazy. Like there's no reason why Davinsky needs to be in, why Maton should still be in the game yesterday. And I know it's 5-2, like it's still like slim chance to win the game, but
right, like 5-2 is
there's no urgency. Like we're playing for tomorrow when we need to win today. And Pete Fairbanks pitched one time the whole series, and it was because he hadn't been in a while. Well, great news, it was a 9-2 loss. That he was pitching in. And, but like yesterday, I will say yesterday that he finally goes to guys like Clevenger. And you know what? It didn't work out. He gave up a few runs. He wasn't sharp. He gave up a couple hits, run or two. Like it's one thing if you give your guys a chance, you put your best guys out there and they don't come through. At least you gave them a chance to keep things tight or to keep the game close. When you just sit on your hands and let your worst players continue to blow games, and demolish your chances of actually coming back or any momentum you had at all out the door. Like that's what frustrates me the most. And there's just no urgency. I mean, you go back a couple of weeks ago when Alex Jackson was asked about the offense, and he's hitting like 40 or something like that, 0-40, and he said there's no urgency. Like
he's right.
Part of baseball.
This reminds me of have you seen that meme of Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he's at the
board?
That's what it reminds me of.
It's like see, I get what they're saying with baseball season ups and downs and stuff, but that's the wrong answer. Like
I can think there's no answer, especially with this team, because look, I know there's ebbs and flows. There's been really no ebbs, or there's been more like ebbs than flows with this team.
Down, it's been all
down. There's been maybe like one little wave, which was that 6-game winning streak, and then the rest of the time it's been just down. Don't worry, folks. We'll talk positively about the Rays maybe sometime soon, but right now there hasn't really been any positive. So
nope. So hopefully they turn things around. As always, that's what I'm hoping for. I am preparing myself for 2025. But
what are your thoughts on the Cubs series? I'm going to lightning round before we get on out of here. What do you think? They split, or do you? Oh, not split.
Well,
do you think they take?
I definitely don't think they split. I definitely don't think they split.
They can't. They can't.
That's my fault. No, you're fine. I mean, there's nothing to suggest they're going to win. Thankfully, they don't get a manga. I'm so bad with names right now. The Japanese pitcher on the Cubs. Thankfully they don't catch him this series. I'm gonna say 1 of 2.
I'm going that route too.
One and two. Yeah, I said
2. One out of 3. One
and 2. There's nothing to suggest they could actually win the series. So,
Cubby's been struggling too, but
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of Cubbies fans there, folks. Just let you know, it's going to be overtaken by Chicago Cubs.
You know what? Yeah. I'm back. I'm turning. I'm reversing. 2 of 3.
You gonna say
2 of 3 before 2 of 3 before they get swept by Atlanta?
I'm gonna say they'll do 1 of 3.
I don't know if you noticed, but the Braves pushed their pitchers back a day. So now the Rays get to face Chris Sale on Friday, Charlie Morton on Saturday, and Max Fried on Sunday.
God.
So that's, unless they catch Charlie Morton a little bit and score some runs Saturday, that looks like a sweep there. So I think 2 or 3 against the Cubs and then a sweep against the Braves, a sweep against the Rays.
I'll say they'll win one against the Cubbies and they get swept by the Braves.
Yeah. So I assume on our next episode, whether that's Sunday night or Monday, it'll be,
Should we drink on that show?
Yeah, I might do that. Yeah, let's go ahead and plan it. We're probably going to need it. So
okay, all right. Everybody else, plan on drinking with us on Raise Rewind podcast. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're gonna head on there. Thank you everybody for joining in for another episode. We will talk nicer sometime in the near future about the Rays, but in that case, just go to our YouTube page right now and go at the Sick Podcast Raise Rewind. Hit that subscribe notification bell for the next Raise Rewind podcast coming out to you. The sickest podcast by the Sick Media Company all the way. So for myself and Drew, we'll see you next time on the Raise Rewind podcast. Peace.
See ya.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raise Rewind with Buschman and Drew on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.